All right. Now are we live?
I can't tell.
Is this working?
Yeah,
It's so
going.
awkward.
Oh,
Hey, we're live.
Okay. It's definitely going to get less awkward.
tell.
With
Is
the
this
more
working?
experience we
Yeah,
get here.
it's going awkward.
Welcome to eCourse Adventures Live. Blair,
Nice, Brad.
way to go, man. You should see this guy under pressure. I'm sweating bullets. He's sweating bullets. Actually, he's not sweating bullets. That's because he is a master.
Cool as a panther.
Yeah. Look.
Yeah.
Look how this new setup is.
Pretty special.
Blair, do you want to give us a tour of how this thing works, or do you just want to throw some surprises in as we go today?
Well, I don't know. So pretty much I've spent this last week getting this set up all nice and pretty for you. It's been a bit of a learning curve, as many of the things that we've taken on over the last few years are. And but it's been really nice to apply the lessons that I've been learning on graphic design work, bringing that in through different multimedia channels. So now we're using this program again, OBS Studio, which is a freeware for both Windows and Mac, I believe. And it just allows us to broadcast this podcast, you know, or whatever we call this stream, this show. And yeah, so it's kind of cool because I get to have multiple channels, multiple inputs. So we've got a camera in front of us here, these microphones to give a better audio feed. We've got Mr. Andy Freist on the channel here. He's going to, we're going to chat with him a little bit later.
Yep.
And
We've missed him.
yeah, but it's kind of cool because you can see up at the top corner right here, we've got this really cool emblem. I've been having fun creating that. And then, boom, down below, we've got this thing called a ticker, and we can just do cool stuff and give you, I don't know, makes it look pretty professional. We're not sure what to do with it quite yet, but it's kind of neat.
We're like our own CNN for eCourse Adventures now.
Yeah.
And we got this really cool logo. I mean, this is the logo I've been thinking of for quite some time. And wait till you see like the actual banner design that's going to go on the homepage of the new eCourse Adventures site. This has been in my brain for a long time, and this gentleman over here has the ability to take what's in my brain and put it on websites and stuff and in media. So I'm excited to see this next stage of the development of eCourse Adventures come together. Well, Blair was getting the show ready last week and setting up all the branding and figuring this stuff out. I joined a mentorship program about 3 months ago called the Venture Accelerator Program out of Victoria, BC. And so it's basically a coaching program for startup companies and CEOs. And so I've been working on our executive summary and our pitch deck, and we've got our first investment pitch this week to raise a round of funding, which is really exciting and kind of nerve-wracking, and it's been a huge learning curve for us to just go through all the legitimate stuff around financing and spreadsheets and budgeting and really spelling out what we're here to do and showcasing our business model in as few words as possible. So I'm pretty stoked. I think later on in the show, after we chat with Andy Freist, we will dig into the importance of having your business model set up and knowing what your business model is, because I know there's a lot of you out there that you're just here creating courses, but you don't actually know what your entire business model is. So we'll get into that conversation a little bit and share some of the lessons that we've been learning as we've been going through this process and much, much more. But let's talk to our special guest, one of the co-founders, eCourse Adventure Guides of the great eCourse Adventure, the dude that helped get all of this going. He plays the role of Master Zen Teach in the great eCourse Adventure, and he is a genius, brilliant, creative artist on the internets. And Andy decided to leave eCourse Adventures almost a year ago, and then it took about 6 months to spiral out into his next chapter of his journey, and he's been up to some amazing things since then. So, Andy, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear there,
Good
Mr.
to
Bradley.
see you, buddy.
Mr. Andy Freist in the home.
Woo!
He's back, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Freist, how do you do, sir? What, I mean, there's so much to cover. We've got like 30 minutes with you. I think like people would love to hear from you. What inspired you to leave behind the mountain to go on your own creative vision quest? So maybe catch everybody up to speed with where you've been at and what inspired you to go off on your solo journey.
Yeah, I will do that. So I guess where to start?
This conversation's been a long time
It's
coming.
big.
It's like,
Where to
How
start?
are you, Andy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Andy's getting married on Thursday as well.
And he survived the volcano.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just do a quick little kind of recap of recent events, and
Remember,
and
we only have half an hour.
Yeah, it'll tie in well with how I got to where I'm at.
Nice.
But anyways, yeah, I'm getting married on Thursday, which is awesome, and that's gonna be a huge rites of passage in many ways. I also just got through hosting our audio alchemy retreat, which many of you are aware of or have heard about it. But long story short, we did a retreat for about 70 people, music producers, here in Hawaii. And there was lots of exciting stories that happened within that I'm gonna have to definitely be careful, because this could easily tangent and turn into a 3-hour story or quest. But long story short, with that, I know you guys are probably familiar that there is lava erupting in Hawaii right now, taking out neighborhoods and stuff. Well, that's my neighborhood. And during the lava started erupting the same day that we started the retreat. So that was coinciding with the retreat. And we ended up actually having to evacuate our 70-person retreat and move it to a new retreat center mid-retreat, which was quite the experience. But yeah, it's been trying times lately, I guess is a good way to put it, and has been really forcing me to realign myself to my highest vision of myself and my highest purpose on earth. And so, that carries through to my decision to leave Great eCourse, the eCourse Adventures, and pursue music. I mean, music has been my sort of heartbeat or the foundation of my life since I can remember.
Sounds like a year of alchemy.
Yeah, it's been, before I could even talk, I was playing banging on pots and pans, and then I was put in music or piano lessons and then guitar lessons. I mean, music's always been the constant of my life. And so a couple of years back, a friend of mine started the Audio Alchemy retreat, which is basically just a retreat in Hawaii for music producers to get together and collaborate and learn and grow and just kind of step into the next level of their creative game and path as an artist. And that was kind of coinciding with my work at the Great eCourse Adventure. And it got to a point where the retreat started to be so successful that I had to make a decision of, what am I going to focus my time on? And I felt like my focus and my time was being divided between these two things that I loved so dearly. And it really ultimately came down to this decision of like, what is my highest calling on this planet? And it's undeniably music. So the hard decision eventually came, about a year ago, that it was time for me to sort of transition out. And we did that slowly. And I was kind of helping on the back end and helping Brad kind of take the reins and stuff, because I was really the person that handled all the tech stuff. So that was quite the process, and it taught me a lot about just letting go and also handing something over to somebody else that I usually am the person, for me, it's really easy to kind of have control over my domain and my technology. So it was definitely a process to kind of hand over the keys to everything that I had created with the Great eCourse Adventure, hand it over to Bradley and Blair. But yeah, it was really good.
It's been quite a year, eh? Like just reflecting on everything that we've gone through, and when I first heard word of you deciding to leave, it was just like, oh shit, like what does that mean? Me
too. I had that same reaction.
Yeah, it was like, okay, we had something really special going on, and so I'm really grateful that you decided to put as much time and effort into your second highest calling, but it's been really exciting watching you take that step and the success that you've been getting now. and just what that means by following your highest passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, the funny thing about it is that I'm not in the eCourse or education industry anymore. It's that I'm just applying myself in a way that's much more in alignment with the truth of who I am and what I'm here to do. Because we still, you know, we are creating online courses, we're creating training material. The retreat itself is a transformational experience that, you know, there's a syllabus, there's a certain flow to the whole thing, and we, you know, reveal knowledge in a particular way that is conducive to people actually becoming new people through the experience, and they go home as new humans. And that's, I mean, that happened in such a profound way this last retreat. It was just in May.
It's so funny too, looking back at when you and I first started connecting and working together years ago, and I was helping you do some visioning stuff, and what came up for you in the visioning stuff is exactly what you were doing now. You just kind of went on this side mountain journey to get to where you're at. And, you know, when it came time for you to weigh out the two options, I mean, it was definitely clear that music was the best path for you. And the question was how, and I'm really grateful and amazed at just how we were able to both move our separate ways in a really supportive way, and to keep the friendship, and to keep the business relationship, and to still like want to see each other grow and evolve into whatever it is that we're here to do with our businesses in life.
Yeah, it's totally. The whole eCourse adventure experience for me. I mean, it was my great eCourse adventure, right? Like literally, that was my adventure, and it was a bit of a business boot camp, and, you know, really got me to a deeper understanding of online education and the possibilities to create experiences on the internet. And I feel like that we're just now barely scratching the surface of what's actually possible.
Yeah, definitely.
I just want to say too, quick note, the website audioalchemy.com, it's actually .io. That if you go to .com, it'll lead you to a different company.
We'll fire the producer as soon as the show's over.
That's all good. Yeah, there's another Audio Alchemy that's like this company that creates like amplifiers for sound systems and things, and they actually don't even use that name anymore. But it's kind of funny. We actually, just a side note, when we picked the name Audio Alchemy, we were starting to we were using it, and then we did some research and found that there was another company with the same name that created this you know, physical gear. I didn't really see any issue there, but it was kind of one of those things of like, I hope we don't have to change our name one day just due to some copyright or you know, trademarking. And just a few months ago, I decided to like check out their website again, and it had redirected to this new site, new branding, new everything. They don't even use the name anymore. Wow. So that was kind of an interesting synchronicity.
Huh. Well, that might be exciting. Go purchase that.
Yeah, totally.
So
now I would love to, there's a couple directions that I want to go with the conversation. One is talking about the experience that you shared with me for your retreat that just passed, because that was pretty mind-blowing stuff. And the second is the direction that you're going to head with the licensing. And so let's start with a little bit of story time from your retreat, and you know, take a few minutes to tell some of the stories of the synchronicities and the magic that was happening there, because that's amazing stuff.
Yeah, so I'll try to brush over that and not go too deep, because I've still yet to kind of create a formal account of it, and that's something I'm going to do. I'm going to create a blog post that really digs into all the aspects of it, but I can give you some clues and just kind of touch on some highlights here, just due to the time constraint. But yeah, let's see. So I guess just to paint the picture, so the retreat was on May 2nd through the 13th. So it's 10 full days of retreat, plus an arrival and departure day, right? So it's a journey, it's a process. And we had what was our final number, was like 65 or 64 or something like that. So nearly 70. We had a few extra guests that weren't included in the number, so we'll just say there were 70 of us. And these are budding music producers from all over the world of different degrees of advancement. And the kind of common theme is that we're all at least at a sort of intermediate level. And so the first day of the retreat, we do this sunrise ceremony down on the ocean, and each day of the retreat deals with a different aspect of alchemy, which I'm not going to really get into what that is or what that means, but it's essentially just a system that allows us to work with and sort of conceptualize the elements and these some more, I guess you could call it, spiritual aspects of existence. And it's a bit of a framework to understand these things and work with them. And so what we do with audio alchemy is kind of combine these spiritual alchemical perspectives and ideas with the process of making music. And so, as we're going through this retreat, we're, just teaching people how to make really good music and inspiring people. And we're also including these kind of spiritual philosophies and transformative aspects, right? So day one, we have this beautiful sunrise ceremony with all 70 of us down at the ocean. And each day has a theme that's focused around a different aspect of alchemy. And the first day, the focus is on fire. And so we do this sunrise ceremony and all this stuff, and we get into the day and we're giving the classes, everybody's inspired. And then around lunchtime, we hear word that in a neighborhood called Leilani Estates, which is just a couple miles up the street, and a few of the retreat, I have lots of friends that live there. I had just given a talk, audio alchemy presentation, kind of a keynote at a friend of mine's house. He kind of does these like little TED Talk things. We just did that just a few days before the retreat in this neighborhood. So anyways, first day of the retreat, we get word that cracks were opening up in the streets in this neighborhood in these various spots. Like there's just these little cracks starting to form. One thing leads to another, it develops, and these cracks turn into like pretty sizable cracks. And then by mid-afternoon, there's steam starting to come out of the cracks, and then by evening there's lava coming out of the cracks.
And now, like living on Hawaii, because you guys live on on a volcano, is that somewhat normal? Do you guys is that just like, okay, we get cracks in the streets, so we got some steam coming up?
That's not normal. Well, no. I mean, relatively, no, it's not normal. Now that said, this volcano, Kilauea, has been flowing for decades, constantly, but in a very sort of controlled fashion. And the last year's retreat, we actually did a hike out to where the lava was flowing out into the ocean, but it's just out in these lava fields, and it's not really, it hasn't been a threat. So
that's
all of a
nice
sudden,
of Pele to actually bring the lava to you this year. That saves you guys so much time, so you can focus on your music.
And just to get this straight, then you've got a retreat. You've got how many people on the island that come for this, and then this is starting to happen.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. No, that's the thing, is that like we all kind of had that moment of like, well, that's interesting. What does that mean, right? So on that first night, a couple of our retreat participants actually had to leave to go evacuate their homes because there was lava flowing right next to them. So that was happening. And then on the second day, we had a 6.9 earthquake that really kind of that got things shaken up.
Now, what was your element on the second day when the earthquake happened?
Water.
Yeah, and so can you feel a 6.9? Like what does that feel like?
Okay, just to put this into perspective. Well, let me back up. Leading up to this, the leading up to the retreat, the caldera at the top of Volcanoes National Park, which usually has like a small little lava pond in it, right? It had been constantly rising over the last week leading up to the retreat, to where it was this enormous lava lake. It was like a huge spectacle. People were coming from far and wide to check it out. Well, the night before the retreat started, the lava lake deflated. It just went down, and then the question is, where did the lava go?
Okay, where's that going?
Yeah. So it came out in Leilani, which is right. So the second day was focused on water. A quick side note: we had been getting these tremors like on a every 15-minute basis for like a week leading up to the retreat. Like I'd be laying in bed at my house, and every 15 minutes my bed would just kind of shake, you know, like that. Not anything huge, but like you could feel it if you were laying down. So there's all this, you know, this like churning and activity, this bubblingness of, you know, life, earth, right? And as the retreat started happening, there was all these really interesting synchronicities with what was happening in the natural environment that was coinciding with what we were talking about and teaching and experiencing as a group. And so, yeah, on that second day, we had like in the morning, we were doing a live jam demonstration. We're actually playing and composing a piece of music on the fly. And we had like a 5.0 earthquake right in the middle of that, which was fun. And then at lunchtime, everybody had gone up to eat lunch, and I was standing in the main lecture hall, this big, like, God, I want to say it's like a 5,000 square foot yoga studio with like a wood floor. And that 6.9 earthquake hit, and I literally watched like 1 to 2 foot high waves flow through the wood, right? Like you could like the whole thing was kind of like this really fluid watery motion, and I could watch these huge waves rippling through the wood floor, and I felt like I was standing in the middle of the ocean or something. Like I could barely even stay standing. And then that lasted, I don't know, it was like 20 seconds or something. It was what an experience. Yeah, it was intense. So then and then the lava started pumping out in different places, and by that time it was really starting to get going, and it was starting to eat houses, and it was just really, this crisis situation was starting to percolate. And while at the same time the retreat was really starting to come into full swing and people were settling in, and there's just kind of this excitement of like, wow, this is really, really real right now. There's this, you know, this lava is eating houses and homes and things right down the street. So on the third day, which was focused on air, that's the day that the sulfur dioxide fumes started to work their way into the retreat center. And you'd have these moments, especially in the evening, of just smelling this like rotten eggs sulfur smell, and you'd kind of feel this itching or burning on the back of your throat at moments. And that's when it became real. Like, okay, there's actually a threat here. Like the lava is not coming, but or it's not necessarily gonna devour us, but the fumes of where the lava is, you know, eating things and reclaiming forests is actually affecting us. And
yeah, and so, that's when like there's a reality of some deadly fumes coming too, right? Like coming out of volcanoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty real.
That was when we realized like, okay, this is a real situation, and we need to be ready to evacuate at the drop of a hat, because if the air quality goes sour, you know, it's a matter of time. Like we just have to go. So anyways, this kept happening where every day of the retreat had a theme, and there was things in the natural world that were directly reflecting that theme in a very uncanny way.
As a participant, you got to start wondering, like, who the heck are these guys?
Yeah,
they're setting off the volcano, like
that's some stage production you got going on there, Andy. That must be high budget stuff.
It felt like that. Yeah, it very much felt like that, and you know, it was the thing that was the most profound about it was that we were all having that experience together. It wasn't like I had a vision about something and an epiphany, and then I shared it with everybody. It was that we all, you know, felt these moments, and there was these kind of key moments, like the first 4.5 earthquake. We were giving a talk, and my partner Steve said the word "earth" at this exact moment that the earthquake happened. And then after the big earthquake, the power had gone out for about 2 hours, and we were giving somebody was giving a talk, just analog. We're all sitting around a circle, and he was talking about being an artist and blah 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 blah, and then he says the word power at the exact moment the power goes on, and the fans all turn on, and we all like looked at each other like, are you kidding me? This is insane. Like, how is this happening, right? And it just kept doing that, one thing after the other. And you know, I don't know what it means, but you know, there's just this situation where the life forces and elements were just very, very, very much alive. and it had this effect that all 70 of us in this retreat group that were, having this experience together, it's just undeniable that there's no accidents. These things that, the natural world is responding and interacting, and it's can be easy to kind of feel like everything is just happening and there's no synchronicities and everything's an accident. But man, this was just one of those moments that you just can't deny it. The environment was speaking, right?
Yeah.
And even the people at Kalani, the people that are working there, like, they recognized it as well. And it was like we were all in this experience together. It was just extremely deep. It felt like a ceremony or something.
Did you get to finish the retreat? Like, did you actually get to complete it?
So on the fourth day, the Kalani office pulled us in and they were like, sorry, we're evacuating everybody. Like, our whole staff, except for a few key people, we're evacuating. You guys need to leave by the morning. Like, it was basically like a 24-hour evacuation notice. So we had to find a new venue for 70 people, figure out how to get them there, pack everything up that day. And then the next morning we had to be out of there by like 9 a.m. And
wow.
Hello, Steve. So it all worked out. We actually ended up, so the venue that we started the retreat at and did all the previous ones at is about a 20-minute drive from this new retreat center. And they had happened to, so the retreats previously were like 25 people tops, and we had basically reached a capacity at that retreat center. Well, it turns out they had just created a bunch of new little cabins and things, and they had room for us. And then, everybody that didn't get a cabin got an air mattress in the main like lecture hall. So anyways, long story short, we ended up moving the whole retreat. And while everybody was moving the retreat, I went to my house and evacuated my home, because we were living right down the street from where this was all happening, right?
Wow. So what did you learn about community building during like that whole transition, that you've got these 70 plus participants that are, they pay good money to be there, and everybody all of a sudden just has to uproot, move to a new retreat. Some of them might have went from having like a room to having to sleep on a floor pad. Like that's some crazy shit.
Yeah, it was, well, there's a sense of humility, and you could tell there was maybe that one or two people that were a little bit, what's the word? I guess a little stubborn, and that like, you can kind of tell that the people that flexed with the situation and flowed with it, and then, kind of came into their power, and they're like, you know what, I can help facilitate this. We can do this as a team. Everything just flowed and it worked. And then, you could see that the people that, were kind of wanting to get babied, they were having a really hard time. And it's because they weren't stepping up. And so for me, it was really clear that crisis creates community. And it was very revealing through this whole thing, who was our team, right? Like, who is on our team, and who really, when shit hits the fan, and it did in a big way, who stepped up and who cowered out and just, wanted to be taken care of the whole time, rather than, stepping in and being a responsible human being.
Yeah.
So through this whole ordeal, our team is together. Like, it fortified us into a family in an extremely deep and profound way that you can't manufacture that.
Yeah.
It's like, honestly, it was just a gift of the gods. It was like something that happened that was way outside of our control, yet totally perfect and totally in tune with everything that was going on. So, so I guess getting back to the retreat experience, once we moved to the retreat venue, everybody had moved to the retreat and reset it up without me and Steve. I was moving my house. Steve was dealing with his situation, and all the participants and a couple of our kind of key team members, volunteers, they did it all themselves. And it was just like, wow, that's something magical, right? I mean, just to show you the ridiculousness of the synchronicities, each day, like I said, corresponds to a different aspect of alchemy. Well, the day that we move the retreat is corresponds to an alchemy called fermentation, which is basically this process where something dies to be reborn again, right?
Yeah,
so
transformation.
Like when you create wine, right? You're killing grapes, you're letting them rot, and then a new life is sort of being injected into them in the form of a ferment, which turns into the sweetness of wine, right? So that's the fermentation process. That's what happened on this day. On the day that we broke down the entire retreat and rebuilt it within a matter of 24 hours.
Wow.
And then that evening we did our talk on fermentation, which was scheduled for that day.
Did you get to a point when you started looking, okay, like I start seeing a pattern here? What's tomorrow? Should we be worried?
Let's make tomorrow's theme about billions and billions of dollars.
It's our abundance day.
Hey, we changed the things up.
That's exactly what happened. And then the next day, after the retreat was set up, the theme was distillation, which is this process of like how you make essential oils, right? You basically heat something with steam, and the steam pulls, the essential oil out, and then you get the oil. Well, like psychologically speaking, that phase of the process has a lot to do with this sort of subtle agitation, kind of like a fine sandpaper, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like a further polishing. So that day there was just lots of agitation, and I was just like feeling, you could just feel it in the air, and people were settled, but it was you could just kind of feel there was this agitation that was kind of bringing up a lot of interpersonal stuff that was being dealt with in the moment. And then on the last day of the retreat, which is where it's this idea that everything comes together, and it's the finished product. And I remember having this moment when Steve and I were on our way to that last day of the retreat from our house, because we were staying at our house during all of this, and we realized, like, okay, this is the day that we have to like take all this craziness that's happened, and we just need to like put it all together and distill it into something that is beautiful and harmonious. And so that's what we did when we got to the retreat. That was our whole morning talk. It was like, all right, you guys, let's take all this craziness and turn it into this festival, right? So we did this thing called Phoenix Festival on the last day, which was supposed to be a public event. We were going to have hundreds of people. We decided we had to shut it down because there was just craziness happening outside. We didn't want to invite all of that chaos in. So it ended up just being a private event, Phoenix Festival, right? I mean, there you go, Phoenix rising from the ashes. And it was just so uncanny. There's lava destroying and destruction, in the evening you could see the glow in the distance, and then we're at the end of the retreat at this Phoenix Festival, which is this bird that it's like rises from its own ashes, and it's just all these things kind of stacked up and
that's
all together.
What a story. Now, have you had much feedback from, like, it's been how long since the retreat now? The retreat culminated 12th or 13th of May, so it's been about a month. Yeah. How are these people doing? Like that's quite the life-changing experience.
Well, they're all changed forever, all of us, every single one of us.
Yeah,
you can't. There's no other option. I'm not the same human that I was before, and that's
wow.
It's just a simple thing. It was just so many. It reflected to me so much of my bullshit and how I get in my own way, and how we get in the way of collaborating and working together and cooperating as humans. And it just showed how it kind of helped reveal the aspects of, as humans, like what gets in the way of us actually having the world that we want to live in, and actually having the relationships and interactions with others that we want to live within. And it was just uncanny. You could see it, like how these certain attitudes or behaviors would just sabotage goodness, right? Like there's so many ways that we just fuck ourselves over subconsciously. And this experience,
this is a live show. Careful.
This experience, well, we're all humans. We're it's like,
cuss on, brother, cuss on.
Yeah. Oh, we lost your audio, Andy.
provided everybody at the retreat with it.
No, you're back. You're back.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So the retreat, it provided an opportunity for us all as humans to look at those aspects of ourselves which are destructive and self-sabotaging, and keeping us from working with others and also just reaching our highest potential. And that it's just, it's like when you have an experience with somebody and it's like, did that really just happen? Yes, that really just happened. That's real. This is real. And it's like, you can't wiggle out of it because it's so real. It's so, in your face. Amazing. So yeah, the retreat culminated and it we only had out of the whole group, there was 2 people that bailed because of the lava. And they lived locally. So I'm not really sure, it is what it is, but for pretty much for the most part, everybody stayed put and they were in it to have the experience, and they had the experience and they went home new people.
What a ride.
What an adventure.
What an adventure.
So
I could ask so many questions about just the retreat alone. And I realize we've only got a few more minutes. Do you want to share a little bit about the direction that you're heading with Audio Alchemy and the conversation you and I had last week?
Yep. Yeah. So through this whole experience, like I said, this whole aspect of having a lot of clarity around who we want to work with, who's on the team, because, in crisis situations, people's truth comes out, and there's certain people that, there's certain people that we put on a pedestal that we had invited as a guest to teach and facilitate. And some, in some cases, it ended up being more of a liability than anything else, because these people wouldn't step up. It was like this weird rock star ego thing, right? And it was just quite interesting that it became very clear who we want to work with, and it was surprising, right? That some people that we put on a pedestal, now it was just no, the people we want to work with are these ones that show up when shit goes sour, right? When things need to be dealt with, they get dealt with because people are ready to deal with them. And so it really showed us exactly who we want to invite to take all this to the next level. And all those people through this experience, there's this deep sort of commitment or reverence towards what it is that we're doing.
And so what's the next level? Tell us.
So the next level is basically, we're organizing a team of sound designers and musicians, kind of handpicking the people that really showed up through this experience and inviting them to be, on a production team, so to speak, to, all these people are already creating their own music. And so what we're going to do is we're creating structure around how music is created and released. And so basically the quick gist of it is, on the kind of far end of it, we're creating a library of music, of our music that we create as a community. And then that music is going to be available to license in different fashions, right? Whether you want to you may or may not realize that every time you kind of interface with music, you're dealing with a license, right? If you're listening to Spotify, you're paying for a license to listen to it, right? If you download a piece of music and you pay $1, you paid $1 to have the license to download the music, right? Or if you use a piece of music in a YouTube video, it's you need a license to, right? So the idea is that we're going to be creating this music that is inspired by these transformative experiences and that sort of carry the quality as best we can of our life experiences. And we're going to categorize it and classify it in as many ways as we possibly can. So the idea being that, say somebody needs a piece of audio for a situation, I need an
eCourse.
I need an environment that sounds like this, and maybe it has this type of instrument or this type of mood. You can click these little filters, and then all the bits of audio that meet that category will be there. And then you say, okay, I want this for my project. You'll click the thing, and there'll be a set of licensing options based on what you're doing, right? So it's going to, obviously, if you are a big corporation and you have hundreds of employees and you need the audio for a commercial, it's going to cost you a decent amount. But if you're just a course creator and you're just starting out, everything's going to be scaled based on what it's being used for. Awesome. But the idea being is that we're going to be creating functional music that does things, that is a purpose that goes beyond just being nice to listen to.
You know, as a producer, creating all the content for what we've been doing over the last few years, that's a dream.
Yeah, how many times do you look for a song, Blair?
Yeah, you know, and there's only a few sites out there that are both easy to use and affordable. And so, you know, what you're creating, and with what you also know with like the needs of a startup eCourse kind of entrepreneurial, you know, small beans type of company, you know, where we've been growing from, it's like that's a dream come true to have something that's easy to use. You know, now I'm a musician and producer of music as well, so there has been a bit of, you know, like the contemplation, not being able to find the right media to take that time, but then that takes a whole nother, you know, that's like another week of work
just to make a tune.
just to be able to make a tune. So it's been glorious to be able to find music that works, and the hours that I've spent trying to find the right piece. You know,
it's you know, and there's a lot of stock music sites out there, and for the most part, if anything that's really super affordable is going to sound pretty bad. It's just going to have a cheesiness and tackiness to it, and it just doesn't sound professional, right?
And that's what takes a lot of the time, is filtering through like 1,000 tracks, trying to find the right one. And even then, what I've done the majority of the time is take a track that I liked a part of it, but it wasn't long enough, a certain part. And because of the engineering, you know, experience that I have, then I can kind of modify. And that's something that I would love to be able to see. It's like ways to, like, I like this piece of a song, and but I need it, like, you know, instead of it being 20 seconds, I need it 40 seconds, or, you know, like
essentially the model that we're going with is like each piece of audio is going to be a song, right? It's going to be a song or an environmental aesthetic, right? A sort of mood or whatever, but each one is going to be it's going to have a start, a middle, and an end. And then through that, we'll also create like the 1 minute version, the 30-second version. And then I think we're also even going to make it so you can download the actual like stems, right? So like you'll have the drum track, the bass track, you know, all the different aspects or instruments that you'll actually have the individual bits for, so you could kind of remix it or
modify. Are you going
to modify it if as needed?
Will there be, like, because not everyone has the experience, you know, that we have as music producers, to be able to go in and be creative in that sense? Are you going to be with this company coming up, have a custom option?
Yeah, we will, but it's going to be like super duper expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Naturally so.
So, yeah. I mean, it takes time. If it's not your time as an entrepreneur and you're asking someone else, you got to pay for that.
I love it. Dude, this is such a good business. It's
So I mean, I guess just to kind of give you an idea of like, that's just one aspect of the business. There's sort of it's like a triangle, I guess. There's 3 points, right? So there's licensing, obviously, which is sort of like how we release the music. And I just want to say too, this isn't the music that's going to be released. Generally in this industry, you know, you've got music that's released to listen to, which is like popular music or whatever. And then there's music that's created for licensing situations and commercials, and that's called production music or library music. And there's usually a distinction between, like, library music tends to have a sort of, you can tell it's not really being created by professional musicians. It's more generally being created by musicians that don't have the chops to be just a professional
It reminds
musician.
me of elevator music.
Yeah, it's like it's got a certain thing about it that it's like you wouldn't listen to it on its own to listen to it. It just doesn't. It's just missing
kind of the
a little
stuff that the
special
producers didn't really get to use for themselves, and it's like the B grade. I'll just kind of license it over here, make a little extra money.
So our sort of rule of thumb is going to be, if it's not worth listening to on its own, it's not worth being in our library.
Wow, cool.
That's basically, you know, the rule of thumb. So there's a licensing thing, but then there's the education sort of realm of what we do, which is educating music producers and, you know, helping them create better music and also create a better relationship to their music and themselves, and ultimately fortify yeah, a relationship with their craft that is rooted in these sort of fundamental aspects of nature and reality. And there's this philosophical tinge to it, I guess, or a lens through which we look. So there's the educational aspect, which is basically teaching people how to make this type of music. And then there's the tools, which is tools to help them make that music. And then the licensing is where they can actually put the music and get it out there. So that's,
Amazing.
essentially the 3 bits. And
So funny, Andy, how like our paths are so parallel with the business model we're developing, where we're now starting to license our courses out to LMS platforms, and then we're creating all of these new courses that educate teachers to teach better online. So there's the educational piece. You guys are growing an online community. We're growing an online community. And then just like the tools, we're starting to build some amazing relationships with tech companies to recommend the right technology to the right course creator based on what they're looking for. And so, it's I just love seeing how we're still spiraling together. And obviously, eCourse Adventures is going to be a partner, and as you get the tracks done. Now, do you have any hint of idea on a timeline? When can we purchase our first package of tracks?
Oh, I have no idea. We're gonna launch. We're gonna get some music up as soon as possible, just to kind of get like a proof of concept.
Yeah.
We've got some music that's ready to go. Can you guys play that clip that I sent you?
Oh yeah, right. Let me see here.
Yeah, we'll just stall for a second. Now, how you doing for time, Andy? Because we're 10
I've got
minutes past your limit.
I've got a couple minutes. I can answer a question while you bring the clip up.
Yeah, Steve Baker's
you could
asking,
even share
are you
the
opening
lava.
it up to producers to submit their stuff?
So here's the thing. Audio Alchemy is this is what came really clear through this whole experience of the retreat, is that what Audio Alchemy is it's a family business. And what that means is that it's everybody that's a part of it is family in a very, very deep way. And it's not closed, but it's also not just open in that sense. Like, really the sort of workflow is that like somebody would come in through our educational material or maybe our tools, and they would start to put those to use. And then we notice who is really good and who's kind of sharing the same sort of philosophies and approaches that we are, and who's really doing the work in the way that we set out to do it. And those types of people are the ones that we're going to invite on to be our official artists. But it's not going to be like an open platform, like, where anybody can just upload their music.
Right.
But anybody can participate in Audio Alchemy through the lens of being a student. Okay. But there's a certain vetting process that, we're only going to invite people to be an official kind of published artist that we feel really embodies what we're all about.
Cool.
So
yeah, that's key. Like we recognize that too on our end. Just we're not going to want to bring on just anybody. And we've tried a few times, different people working at, different creative people just to help us with, and it's an energetic, right?
Yeah.
When you're working with them, and we're at a point now with starting to seek out investment capital to help us move to the next step too.
Yeah.
And that's even a big part that we've been discussing,
Around who we want to invest in.
Yeah, that was a big lesson that your mentor in this business thing that you're doing.
It's not just people giving money, it's people offering mentorship and experience and energetic support.
Big part of the team.
Yeah, it's really important. Same with our model with the eCourse Adventures, whereas like companies like Udemy, they'll let anybody who wants to build a course put their course up on the platform but when we launch the eCourse Adventures platform, we're going for quality over quantity. We'd rather have 200 unbelievable courses on the platform rather than 20,000.
Curation, yeah.
Curation is the key. We're saturated with, we're saturated with mediocre stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And it's really, really, really hard to separate the wheat from the chaff, right? Unless somebody is doing it for you. And that's really what Audio Alchemy is going to be all about, is a very highly curated functional and beautiful music.
Now,
So on
Andy,
that
so I've
note,
got,
just before what's up?
I've got this here. What clip did you want me to play?
Yes. Well, ideally, what we could do is maybe just show the retreat group image real
Sure.
quick.
So I'm just gonna share my screen here, and this is the group. You guys can see that.
So that's most of it, anyways. There's quite a few people missing, but this was on the last day, right before we started the festival. And we had an all-night festival. We all played music for each other.
It's a big crew.
So that's our crew at our second venue.
Awesome.
And it's just so deep, the level of connection and community that was forged through this whole thing.
Where are you? Where are you?
Right in the middle.
I'm in the middle with the hat and the tank.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. Why don't we do? So can you play the clip? This is a
which one? The MP4 or the Wave?
The Wave. So this is a clip of music of an album that's just about to be released that my business partner has been working on for years. This is a collaboration between him and another guy, and this is going to be like our first kind of official, one of the first releases. Okay. So, and this is just a quick clip, just to kind of give you an idea of like the quality and aesthetic. It's no, not working.
It's not working. You can't hear it?
You got to feed it through the audio signal somehow. It's just like coming through your mic from the computer speakers.
Oh, okay, because I've got it. I have a desktop audio feed. Hold on.
Yeah, it's not working.
Not working. Okay. All right. That's something that we'll have to figure out because I thought that would come through the same feed that you're coming through.
What about the video? Will the video work?
Share, you gotta press a specific setting.
Or here, you know what? I think I can do it. Here.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me see. Why don't you play the other video? It doesn't need audio. It's just some footage of the lava flow, just to give you an idea of like what is happening next to me right now.
Cool. Let's do that. This is what's happening. This is Andy's world. Turn that down. Let's see. That's beautiful. Whoops.
I wish we could have the music to it.
Well, let's see.
You bring the music, Andy. We got the video.
Here, if you just pause it for a sec, I'll get this music going.
Oh man, I see some spewing lava there. This is exciting. Come on, everybody.
Sorry, it's gonna just take me 1 second.
It's part of our package. We're just, flying by the seat of our pants. And did anyone from last week actually figure that out?
No, we should probably Google search "flying by the seat of my pants."
Yeah, it's an interesting comment. So,
did
you get it?
Almost. Here we go.
All right.
Can you guys hear me?
We can still hear you.
What about?
There we go.
Okay.
Let's
ready?
Do this.
All right, play.
All right, play. Okay. Nice.
It's working. We get a couple techies to figure this out.
Whoa.
Wow.
This is so surreal thinking that someone's home there.
This is the new Earth being created right now, just down the street from Andy.
music's great, Andy.
All right. Whoops. So that's all we get. For
So that's just a sample of the quality of like nice kind of
the
stock
benchmark.
music.
Yep.
Awesome.
So I gotta jet, you guys. I have an appointment in like 10 minutes. So I'll
All right.
talk to you guys soon.
Andy
Thank
Freist,
you
where
guys.
can people find out more info about your retreats, your music?
audioalchemy.io.
Yo, cool.
Beautiful.
We've got information up there that people can just watch. Awesome, dude. Thanks so much, brother, for coming out, sharing the story. We look forward to having you back on the show in the future with more about what's going on in your world and what we've done in the past too. It'd be fun.
All right. Talk soon.
Take care, buddy.
All
Happy
right.
marriage.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you
Don't know
later.
why I'm yelling. The mic's right in front of my mouth.
But he's in Hawaii.
Yeah. Good luck.
What a lucky guy.
Oh man. Well,
Well,
if you don't mind living down the road from Pele.
Yeah, from lava.
Yeah,
Holy moly.
she's quite the unpredictable neighbor.
Cool. So
Well, that was fun.
yeah.
Andy Freist. See, he still
Freist.
exists, and we're still friends. Just for any of you that were wondering. So what do you say we jump into the next segment of the show, which is the "How did you do that?"
Dum,
section.
dun, dun, dun,
So we're going to play a little
dun.
media. This is going to be a regular segment of our show. So if you're going through one of our courses, whether the Great eCourse Adventure, the Art of eCourse Creation, or Green Screen Magic, or any of the future courses we create, and you're like, how did you do that part or that scene?
We'd
then
love to
we're
try
gonna
to
show you.
do our best to break it down for you.
Yeah.
I mean, my intention is to actually open up the whole Premiere profile and show you stuff. I haven't quite figured that part out to share it in this format. A big part actually that kind of made me think of was the fact that I needed to, I mean, the Great eCourse Adventure, just to put in perspective, was close to 500 gigabytes of data. All of our video, and we weren't even shooting in full HD. It was 720 just to keep our file sizes down because hard drives are expensive. And that brought me to a whole point of actually wanting just to quickly chat about is when you're starting to create these courses and you're creating video and you want high quality, it starts to add up. And I mean, I could probably go back and trim certain files, but I didn't want to necessarily delete something that might have been useful. So that's a big part of just being, from as an entrepreneur and an eCourse creator is recognizing that you need, some good hard drives to hold this all. And something I wanted to just put a shout out is a RAID. It's called a RAID drive, and that's something I use. So back home where I have this stuff stored at my home studio right now. I've got this big hard drive that has 5 hard drives all synced up, and if one of them ever decided to go, because it is a mechanical, they're mechanical parts and things are spinning, and we all might have had this experience at some point that your hard drive just decides to die. And if you have all of your stuff on that hard drive and it's gone, it's gone. And you might have just spent months, maybe even a year or two even preparing and everything. And if it's all on that one spot and it goes, you might have to start from scratch. And that's something I really want to bring up at this point is because it was a reminder this morning is that I wanted to bring, to open that up, I would have had to actually bring the whole hard drive over to the studio here. And it was just like, oh yeah, like I just wanted to quickly touch on that. Yeah. Because we've had scares before and it
True story.
sucks. So, the saying kind of goes is that if you only have your stuff in one place, then it's not important. Whether that's your music, your photos, your family photos, your eCourse, if it's only in one place, you never know what might happen. You might have a volcano next door erupt and take out your home. And that's the other thing. You might if that's the case here, we would be screwed still because I don't even have our stuff up stored in the cloud, so to speak, or in a waterproof, fireproof, lava-proof safe or something. I don't know, right? So if it's really important, really consider this stuff.
Yeah.
So
Now, Blair moved to Salt Spring Island, the island that we live on here, to get into farming and getting back to the earth. But now he's wanting to create data farms for all of our memory that we have. So it's a different type of farming.
That's a different. We'll talk about that at render farming.
Render farming, that's what it is. Sorry.
But we won't talk about that
I'm
now.
new here. All right, so how did you do that? We had a request last week from Stavito in the community, and he wanted to know, how did we do the floating head wizard scene in Architect's Forest in the Great eCourse Adventure? Architect Forest is our 4th out of 14 checkpoints in that particular thing. So we're going to play a little clip, and then we'll talk about it, how we did it.
Cool. So I'll just share my screen here. The fanciness. All right. So this here is checkpoint 4.2, deciding your what. So we're actually here helping our eCourse creators going through the Great eCourse Adventure to get clear on what you're actually doing. That's a big part of building an eCourse, because we all have this idea sometimes of how amazing our eCourse, and we have something to share, but unless we're really clear, the whole process can get pretty foggy. And so this is what we wanted to bring through as we were exercising this idea of themification and illustrating through visual the whole process. And that's what the whole Great eCourse Adventure does.
And most people start with a huge, grandiose vision of like, I'm going to share all of this. And there's a refinement process that we help people do, which is to break it all down into steps. So this is this was
a lot of fun. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. We'll show in just a second. I'll just kind of give a little bit more background here to what we've done. As you can see, we have Brad and Mr. Andy Freist here going into the forest.
We look so young.
Yeah, and the idea was that the mist is coming in and they get lost. So here, I'll play it and then we'll chat about it. Oh, I don't know if they'll hear sound. We just went through that. Oh no, we'll see. Hold on, let's see if it plays.
Holy, this is a spooky place.
No.
Yeah, it's working.
Man, the fog is getting so thick, everybody. I think we should all just get close with your buddy and make sure you stick together.
Yep.
Let's stay close. Guys?
This is scary.
So before the wizard comes in here, what was a lot of fun was creating this fog element around and then losing them in the depths of the forest. So there was a lot going on here. We had the original green screen. I'm just going to come back and bring us back on here.
I can't believe you're holding everybody in suspense
I know,
before the wizard comes.
Before the wizard,
but great.
But
find out next week the rest of this video.
We'll get to the video. But what's really cool about this was, if you were to do something similar to this, it was just Brad and Andy in front of the green screen. I pointed at the green screen because that's what's actually behind us right now.
No, it's not.
No.
It's not.
And then so they're in front of the green screen just walking forward, and I slowly fade that out and bring these other layers. So we had some fog layers, green screen based fog layers, and I bring that a little thicker and start adding them in front so they would lose the audio. If you noticed, started sounding distant, so I'd fade the audio down and increase what's called reverb. Is that sound, if you're distant away, your ear can tell that they're further away because the sound of the voice is just further. So I would kind of add that element and just start thinking, what are all the senses of the viewer, and see if I can engage each one in that.
Now, the fog that you got there, that was just like free YouTube footage that somebody'd put up, like fog green screen effect for free.
Yeah, totally.
And
that's something that I'm still trying to find, is how we can find more layers of this green screen stuff. So that's what we did, and then we had the wizard starts coming in. You can hear the
Hello
background sound there.
Oh, fear not. I am the spirit of Architect Forest. Yes, don't run. For the only way to get through this forest is with me. Any and all people that have run from this point have never been found. And
oh dear. So it's pretty ominous, and the idea here was to let our viewers or our students going through the course get that feeling of, right, we need to find clarity to get through, and this is what the wizard teaches. This was one of our first main characters.
And the fog was the metaphor here, right? Like when you start out building a course, you're kind of in the fog. You know, there's a lot of potential directions you could take it, but it's still foggy. And as you go through Architect Forest here, the wizard helps the fog clear in your mind by guiding you through a series of exercises that really help the fog to lift so that you can see exactly what you're here to create in the order that you're going to do it. And
totally. Yeah, which is a lot of fun. And the way we did that was essentially we had a green piece of fabric that we wrapped around Brad in the chair. So therefore his body would disappear. And it was just his head with a hat he was wearing. Let's see, I'll bring it back here. And so he's wearing, you know, like the wizard hat, a wig. And the funny thing that we tried, I still laugh to this day, is he had this brilliant idea that he would get some flour, like some wheat flour, and add some water and paste it all around his beard. It was one of the silliest, you know, ideas. And
it looks good in the first video, but, you know, it was several hours of filming, and the further into the recording process, it just, like, started chunking away as it hardened and falling off in mid-clip.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not a good idea. Don't use flour with water to make your beard white.
So, yeah, so here, just looking at this clip, there's so many layers being played out at this point. You can still see a little bit of the original background of the trees in the background. We also have then probably 2 or 3 layers of this fog that is behind the wizard to create that element. And then there's layers of fog in front of the wizard at this point. So it feels like the viewer is in the middle of the fog as well. You can hear in the background, I'll play again just a little bit, some wind sounds of a kind of a haunted old forest, and then the ravens and the crows in the background, giving this that feeling. And we added some reverb to the wizard's voice. And the fun thing that we did is there was a setting, I think just in Premiere Pro, to lower the pitch of the audio. So we actually lowered the pitch of Brad's voice, because you can hear Brad's voice right now.
It sounds just like me.
Just sounds.
See?
have never found their way to Launch Summit. The fog that you see here is just a reflection of the fog that's within your mind.
So this is, creating that feeling. And so we had a few lessons where the wizard then teaches the lessons of how to go through. It was a lot of fun, and it was also a real learning experience for us, because this was one of the first times that I was presented as a producer using the green screen, which was a new medium for me, how to create this element of no body. It was just a floating head, Brad's idea. And
seemed like an easy idea, right? You just get the head to float, Blair.
And that was the fun thing, is like getting a really cool idea and that's just going with it.
Yeah.
And as we went with that, the idea to produce more characters, it was it was just kind of one of those things, and our characters got more advanced as we went, and just kind of continued to grow on the skills. So this was a big thing for us, and just for me as a producer. So I wanted to share that part with you guys about that. And if anyone has any questions, please ask away in the feed here. That will be part of what we're going to try to do as we hear. Bradley, what happened to you? Here he comes. So
I'm back. We're just still settling into the house. We have plumbers and maintenance people and
doing their thing.
doing our thing.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Yes.
That's reality. See this like reality TV.
That's just reality
Real
TV.
stuff happens.
Yeah, so that's pretty much how we did that scene. And then as you go through the course, you'll see the flour slowly flaking off of Brad's beard.
But what's beautiful is like the higher up the mountain you go, for all of you people that are in the great eCourse adventure or considering it or have been up to Launch Summit and back, is the higher up, the crazier our ideas got, because we started to see like what was possible. And then we were just like, oh yeah, let's get a floating head. Oh yeah, let's like, do a shamanic ceremony with a shaman and like go on a psychedelic journey as we start to themify our course. And that was actually when we came up with the whole themification thing. And so every checkpoint you get to in the adventure just stretches the imagination of what we could conceive at the time. And so it's quite amazing. And that's why we made Green Screen Magic, is because all of the things Blair's talking about with the sound and the lighting and layering in different backgrounds and effects, like that's what we're teaching in Green Screen Magic, so that you can do the same sort of world creation.
It's not just using a camera and a green screen to create the magic. So that's what we try to teach. It's all about the concepts of how many layers are required that are in this shot. There's all the video layers, the fog, the elements of the right background, the wizard himself, but then there's also the audio, which plays a big role. The more that we can engage our students through their full sensory capacity, the more we're engaging the fullness of their brain, so therefore the learning experience is so much deeper. And that's the beauty of looking at a lot of the older teaching modalities, so to speak, like storytelling is a huge part. And so this is just kind of a modern form of storytelling.
Remember how engaging a PowerPoint used to be like 10 years ago? It
Right.
was like, wow, they're using a PowerPoint. I can see words on the screen that are matching what they're talking about. And it's funny because we're doing this pitch deck thing for the business plan, and it's basically just a 12-slide pitch deck or PowerPoint presentation. I'm like, the part of me is resisting even doing it that way because it just seems so lame compared to what we know we could create. But this is what the investors want to see, so this is what we'll give them. But there's so much more that we can do. And yeah, as Blair said, this is just a more modern way to tell stories and teach people new skills. And if we can keep them captivated and engaged in the story long enough, then there's a good chance that their lives can transform. And that's the name of the game here, folks.
That's the name of the game. Yeah. So that's what we're going to try to do in this show, eCourse Adventures Live. I'm really excited that we are doing this, Brad.
This feels like episode 1. Last week was like just almost here.
Yeah.
It was episode 0.
0.
And the one before that was episode -1.
-1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're more the runways to get here.
And that, again, just coming back to the whole philosophy of just creating. Always be creating as an entrepreneur doing this sort of work. And
Where'd you come up with those ABCs of being an entrepreneur?
a wise man once told me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd like to meet that guy.
Yeah. And it was Bradley. Yeah, and that's really stuck with me. And even just kind of putting this show out, it wasn't completely done per se from my perspective of what I wanted. It was still, there's some glitches, but we're still doing it.
It was done enough for me, which is why this marriage works here, is because Blair's like, it has to be better. And I'm like, it's fantastic enough.
Yeah. So let us know how this was for you. If there was any glitches on your end, we're definitely still interested to make this the smoothest, show possible.
And we're going to come up with regular segments like the how did you do that? So if there's something that we've created that you want to know, how did you do that? Then we'll include that in next week's show. So just shoot us an email. And
don't forget to subscribe.
Definitely subscribe.
We're going to actually have a new channel soon. Right now we're using Brad's personal channel, because we didn't have enough time to do that for eCourse Adventures. But we're going to have a new channel, so we'll shoot you guys all a link next week, and then subscribe to that channel, because then that'll let you know when this show is happening. I think we're gonna change the time and date a little bit.
Yeah, which we'll send out an email with those details once we've concretized them.
Totally. And a big part is also like, are we doing this every week, every other week? We're still trying to figure that out, because a big part is just how does this properly flow for us?
Yeah. Into the business model that we're creating for ourselves, and the lifestyles that we want to create. Like the lifestyle is such a big piece, and for everything that we're doing.
Yeah.
So that's been a big conversation, and as we go, we'll definitely update you more. And that's something for all of you as you develop your business plan, as you start to map out what it is that you're trying to do. Lifestyle first, folks. Like that's the name of the game. Is you're creating a business so that it supports your lifestyle, but create the lifestyle and then figure out what business can support that. And build the business around the chosen lifestyle. And trust me, like you don't need to make bazillions of dollars before you start living your most ideal lifestyle. If you wanted to start living it now, if you're not currently, it's going to take some lifestyle changes and choices to actually match what it is that you want based on all the things that are out of alignment right now. But it's a simple choice, make a list of how you're living your life right now on a scale of 1 to 10. All of the things that you're investing time in, how many of them are a part of your dream life and how many are not? And how many other things do you wish were a part of your day-to-day life that you could start to integrate into your life? And for some of you, it might mean changing everything. And for some of you, it might just be adding a little flavor of awesome every day. Just a little bit. Just like add that extra spice of awesome into the day-to-day life. And all of a sudden, your life will be exactly what you want it to be. And for us, doing what we're doing here with the show, with the courses we're building, this is definitely a big part of the dream life. And so you can do it too. So do it.
Totally.
And real quick, just on the business side of things, creating your business model. This has been something that's been evolving for the 2.5 years that we've been doing the Great eCourse Adventure. Back when we first got started, it was a one-off course, and now it's a membership of $35 a month. So there's one stream of income that we have is the monthly recurring revenue from membership sales. We're at about 300 and something people now, 350-ish. About 200 of those ish are grandfathered in as lifetime members. Then on top of that, we have coaching and consulting. So that's another layer of our business model that we've been doing since the get-go, is just coaching people and helping them. And now that we're becoming established as leaders in the space of experience design and production, we're definitely able to charge a lot more money than we were when we first started out. And so another layer that's coming into fruition over the summer months is going to be our eCourse Adventures network and marketplace, where students who launch their courses through the Great eCourse Adventure can upload and publish their courses. And also, it's going to be a social network for people that really want to spearhead the new paradigm of online education and push the boundaries with us, where we can all learn and grow from each other, where we can all share the technology that we're discovering, where we can prototype different course ideas or video ideas, and really just create a supportive environment for people to play, or a sandbox, so to speak. Nice. And we're actually going to charge money for that. That's going to be approximately $7.99 a month. That'll give you access to all of the courses, all of the communities. It'll give you access to these live experiences that we're doing, and much, much more. So that's going to be built this summer and launching in September, fingers crossed. And then, so that's another layer of our business model that we're just starting to build now. The other is selling our one-off courses. So for you, you're doing the same thing. You're starting to build courses. So we've got Green Screen Magic at $97. We've got the Art of eCourse Creation, which is a $37 course. We're just diving in this week to start Workbook Heroes, which will teach you to make interactive, super sexy workbooks to go with your courses. That's going to be super fun. Blair came up with the name. So that's another layer of the business model. And the next layer is licensing our courses. This is a brand new layer. We're setting up our first licensing partnership this freaking week. Tomorrow's the day for the conversation. This is a very exciting piece, because the LMS companies, learning management software companies that host eCourse creators courses, they need great courses in their platform that showcase what a great course looks like and teaches their students how to make great courses. We're that company, so we're going to be uploading our stuff to a bunch of different LMS companies and helping their students get the results that company really wants for them. So that's another layer of our business, and we've got multiple layers for that one branch that we can get into another day. And then I'm just going to dig into this a little bit more. Affiliate partnerships for us are a great way for us to make a little bit of money, but that little bit adds up when we have a lot of people. So when we recommend a green screen kit and Green Screen Magic, we get a little piece of the pie because we had to source the company that gives people the exact specifications that you want for your green screen kit. Things like Premiere Pro, if you use them through our links, we get a little bit of money. If you use some of the software that we're recommended, like the LMS companies, we get a little bit of money. All of that adds up. And at the same time, you don't have to go with those companies, obviously. It's just a choice, and knowing that you're supporting us to fulfill our mission anytime you purchase through the links that we're putting there, or most of the links, not all of them. And we're also just co-producing our first course with another creator, Chris Gilmore from the Great eCourse Adventure. Big shout out to you, brother. We're really excited. We're helping Chris with his Survive the Storm course, which is essentially going to be a week-long, extremely immersive adventure in surviving one of these superstorms that might hit your area. And the way that we're piecing this course together is going to be so freaking cool for anybody that wants to learn how to prepare for a mega storm, go through the eye of the storm, and come out the other end as somebody who could really serve the people in your neighborhood. We'll definitely be bringing Chris on for a show very soon once we have a few more details fleshed out that we actually have something to showcase. And so that's another piece that with certain partners, we split the profits as they come in. So for all of you out there, like, I would love for all of you, and if you're in the eCourse Adventures community or the Great eCourse Adventure already, make a post about your business model and come up with at least 3 ways that your company is making money with the prices that you'll charge for those services and products. And if you have more than 3, great. When I was in my mentorship program, the mentors, because a lot of the companies were startups, where we've been in this for 2.5 years with the Great eCourse Adventure, and then another 1.5 years before that with the eCourse Blueprint. So our business model is pretty refined. And so the mentors were like, you have way too many ways to make money. I'm like, no. This, and this are actually already generating revenue. And these are the 2 that we're starting to integrate in. So if you only have 3 is a good number, that you have 3 different ways that you can bring money in for your company. So write your business model, post in the community. We would love to see. And for all of you that aren't in the Great eCourse Adventure, give it a try. It's free for your first 14 days. Free.
Check it out.
You can't go wrong. You get to see how we do these crazy e-courses, and we're going to teach you to make really amazing e-courses for your students that are way more exciting than just a PowerPoint and a PDF slapped together. So
totally. And a big part of the community, if you're new to this idea, is, it's all about working together and finding those teammates that will, and chances are they might already be there looking for you, because you'll have your own unique skills. And just like Brad and I working together with Andy, what we've been able to create because of that working together is something that none of us could have created on our own. Yeah. And even just with Andy, things that he shared with us off the call earlier was just how grateful he is with the team members that he has coming on board to create all that.
And if you're like, well, I don't have any team members, or nobody I know is into the same thing as me. Well, that's what the community's for. Like, we've got people they're uploading their scripts for their videos, and people are giving amazing feedback on those scripts for your videos. Or if you post your first video, people are going to come in and be like, well, the audio wasn't that great, or I loved this part, but I think if you added in some background music, it would be that much better.
Yeah, what's really awesome is that because some people might say, well, you've got Facebook for that, but when we're creating something we're in such a vulnerable state, right?
Yeah. And you don't want Facebook owning your e-course content.
Totally. And that's a big thing, licensing. And we don't recognize that most of the time. But when you post something to Facebook, it's theirs.
It's theirs.
They actually own that.
Yeah. And Facebook is a sea of distraction. I mean, to actually have focused, productive work in Facebook, you all know. I mean, totally. I quit Facebook at the beginning of this year, and I feel like a free man. I'm actually regrowing my brain cells as I talk right now, because I'm not on Facebook, and it's no longer connected to my phone. It's no longer on my computer. Yeah. It's the best.
And so having a community of like-minded entrepreneurial, creatives that are all working together, and so when we share something, we actually is a level of safety that allows us to, like, knowing that I'm going to let this unique creation of mine be shown, and it might not be perfect yet, but I know the people who will receive it are really kind. It's going to be really good feedback. It's not going to be necessarily soft and poofy either, because they know that you're trying to grow
and do your best work.
Do your best. So we're all going to kind of hold ourselves up to that. So everyone that I've seen so far that shares and the responses, it's phenomenal. We're all lifting each other up.
Yeah.
So come check it out. It's pretty rad.
And I just want to give a shout out to one of our newest members, Carmine. She's doing How to Brand Yourself Like a Boss. And Carmine just got... she just graduated from Jackson State University with a bachelor in computer science, and now she's ready to rock her entrepreneurial path. So, Carmine, welcome to the mountain. You came to the right place at the right time in your life. We're stoked to support you to launch Summit many times.
I would love to hear her story and what she's doing.
It's pretty cool.
Let's get her on.
She's got it in her intro here, so we will invite her on for a little conversation here.
Sweet.
I guess we just did our first commercial. This show has been brought to you by the Great eCourse Adventure. Create the greatest eCourse you can possibly imagine.
Nice.
Yeah.
That works.
And if you want to know how to do all sorts of fun green screen tricks, just go to greenscreenmagic.com and we will show you the way.
Totally.
Yeah.
Lots going on.
This has been a fun show, Blair. You did a heck of a good job producing it.
Thanks,
I'm proud of you. I'm grateful for you. And all y'all out there, let us know what you thought. Let us know what you want. If there's any other segments that would support you or teach you, or if you got any guest recommendations, we're wide open. We're making this up as we go, or flying by the seat of the pants, as they say, which is, I just looked it up. This is early aviation parlance. Aircraft initially had few navigation aids, and flying was accomplished by means of the pilot's judgment. The term emerged in the 1930s and was first widely used in reports of Douglas Corrigan's flight from the USA to Ireland in 1938. Fly by the seat of one's pants. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm glad we found that out.
Yeah, I feel
Next
better.
week, we'll figure out why they say, "Can I pick your brain?" Because I'm curious to know where that came from. It's sort of gross. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming
Thank you
to
so much,
the
everybody.
official first episode of eCourse Adventures Live.
See you soon.
Adios. How do we shut this thing off now?
Bye. Like this.